Hello and welcome to Change MakerZ. This is our final podcast today. I am your host, Cullen Munro, and I am here with Elena Finelli, who is the president of the Environmental Management Club. How you doing, Elena?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. You are a geographic science major with a concentration in geospatial analysis and environmental conservation. In addition, you're also in the Geography Club, you're a Safe Rides member, and you're in the Climate Action Alliance of the Valley. How do you have all this time for all this stuff?
That is actually a really good question. My Google Calendar, I literally just fit everything in. I don't know. I do everything that I do, I love, so I try to make time for it.
Okay. And you have been involved in a lot of activism, especially in the last few years. You were a major hand in like the Harrisonburg climate strike. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so that was my first time planning a climate strike or like any strike ever, so it was a little scary, but I don't know if anyone's familiar with Lizzie M. She was the president last year. She did the 2021 one, and she helped me a ton with the planning, so I was on my own, but also I knew I had her, and the 2019 strike, the guy who ran that helped me a lot. But it was really exciting to have that put into my hands, because I kind of when I stepped into the role as president, it was kind of a responsibility. So I took it on myself, but also was kind of asked to do it. But it was really exciting, and looking forward for next year's, because definitely.
And how did it go overall? What was the call to action for the climate strike?
So I kind of took it into my own personal perception this year, because in the years past it was kind of like us marching, being like, this is an issue, we need to solve this, but it wasn't really saying this is what we want to happen and this is how we can do it. I kind of this year wanted to team up with JMU rather than us be shouting at JMU you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, but to be like, how can students help you and what do you need from us? So I really wanted to shift that kind of perspective for the past strike.
And how has the relationship been with JMU? Because I know it was a little bit faulty at first, but it seems like you guys are in a better place now.
Yes, definitely. After the 2021 strike, there were some conversations that started between us and a couple other students who were really into it. And we began meeting, and then it kind of fell off the edge because we weren't probably communicating correctly. We weren't saying why we were here. We were kind of very hostile towards each other. But after the 2022 one, and this new approach of not us versus them, but us with them, it went a little smoother. But of course, in a giant institution, things are complex, and it's really hard for one student to try to change an entire system. So it's been difficult, but I definitely I've made new connections with professors and other faculty who feel the same way, and that's been helpful because they understand it just a little bit more than I do. So teaming up with them also has been hopeful and also helpful.
What are some of the initial frustrations that you have that are seemingly getting better or getting worse?
With JMU?
Yeah, with JMU.
So getting better, every year you see more and more. It's because it's becoming more prevalent. Students, high schoolers are caring about it more. They want a school that is green or sustainable, or at least seems to be. So we definitely see it, definitely on the surface a lot more. The issue is that it's not doing a whole lot, a sign in a dining hall, which I'm okay, yay, I got signs put up in D Hall, talking about food waste, but what is that actually doing, or what's going on behind the scenes? So there's a lot of yes, we're moving in the right direction, but is it fast enough? Is it big enough steps?
Okay. And what was the reason that you wanted to get involved with this in the first place?
With EMC or JMU or anything?
EMC, JMU, your call to action for environmentalism.
That started all the way back in high school. That was I was kind of a side passion, and then in my freshman year, I kind of realized like, oh, like I can actually do this. Like this is like a real, like people actually have jobs in this. So I was like, okay. So I changed my major and joined EMC. It was like during COVID, so there were like 3 people in the club. So like me, Lizzie, and I, when we were like, or me, Lizzie, and the rest of the exec, we were kind of starting it up from the ground and kind of took it on as our little project. So once I became president, it was like my baby. So I like put all my time towards this club, and yeah, I just love it. I mean, that's.
And you talked about things maybe not going fast enough. What do you think needs to be done more on campus for things to speed up and actually get on track?
I think there needs to be a lot more communication between faculty, like the people that are hired to teach students about these issues, and the upper administration that are hiring these people, because there's a lot of disconnect of like, we know the science, we know what is right, but why isn't this happening? Like, why can we like preach it but not practice it on our campus? So that kind of gets frustrating when you're in a building that is like, you know, giant like CO2 emissions to build it, this and lights are on 24/7, but you're learning about like global disasters that are happening because of cities that are built the same way that this campus is built, and you're kind of like, oh, okay.
Definitely. And that's something that you've been working on too. You were talking to me about a recent project that you're working on that's kind of connecting local organizations and colleges.
Yeah.
So what's that about?
So this past semester, I started working, me and one of my other peers started working with the CSL, Community Service Learning Center, and creating this kind of like networking event, sort of. It started with one step because we were like, well, Earth Day's coming up, like we have to do something. So we wanted to make it as like big as possible and everyone on the same page, like just so everyone knew what was going on and they could come to what they want to or spread awareness of whatever they wanted to. And so we started with one event, and we had a planning event, and we had like 30 different orgs come from, like, it was like EMU, Bridgewater, JMU, and then like everyone. I can't even name all the orgs. There was probably like, I don't even know, but it was bigger than we imagined, and then we kind of just kept it going, and we wanted everyone to like be on the same page, so we created this giant like master calendar where everyone could update like, oh, I'm doing this on like this day for Earth Day, and it was nice to have that cohesive list. And also, since it was COVID, everyone was like online and Zoom and email, so it was really rewarding for everyone to be in person and be like, hey, like I've talked to you like 5 different times and this is the first time we're meeting. Like, it was really special for those connections, and also to just have everyone on the same page and create it in a way where next year or the year after, when like the students are no longer here but these organizations are still standing, they still have that connection to JMU and all these institutions. It was important to us.
Yeah, and you know, where do you see that going in your senior year?
Yes, I definitely have a busy senior year planned. Definitely no free time, which I'm excited for, but I'm excited because this was kind of like the test run of the year, but now I can kind of reset and I don't have to start at square one, which is something I'm very grateful for, because if I had to do that again, I don't know. But just having like the people behind me that I know support me now and are willing to help is extremely special, and something that like can help us even go further, maybe connect with even more orgs or spread outside of the environmental section in the more service areas is something that I've kind of been interested in too. So
was there kind of like a blueprint for what you're doing with other universities, or is this something that you kind of came up with on your own?
Nope. Me, my friend, and one of the faculty at CSL, we kind of just like spent hours and hours meeting and just like, all right, well, what do we want this to look like? We didn't really look at what other people were doing in maybe other states or areas, but yeah.
Okay. What do you want to get accomplished in your senior year?
Well, I definitely want to graduate, so like that. The 2023 climate strike, that's going to take a lot of planning, and I'm excited for that. Hopefully it can be bigger and better than last year because I know there's a lot more orgs standing who have my back, so I'm excited for that. And then the way I kind of see EMC is like we're separated, like fall is like the climate strike, spring Earth Day. So like it takes all my energy and all my planning kind of split between that. So our Earth Day events, we did a lot this year, but I'm looking forward to next year and expanding it from just JMU again to outside the greater Harrisonburg area. So
would you hold it still in Harrisonburg if you have other people coming?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's the Harrisonburg Climate Strike, so we focus on more like the JMU and downtown area, but I definitely want to encourage other schools to come too, even though we do start at JMU. It's not just about our school, even though.
And do you have like a specific focus for this climate strike? And has there been a specific focus for other ones in the past?
So the climate strikes they coincide with Fridays for Future, which is like a worldwide, like it's Global Climate Strike Day it's like the third week or the third Friday of September. So this is happening all around the world, and we could choose to go in their direction and be like, yeah, we're supporting them. But I think last year I started to, and this year I'm going to continue to focus on our local area because people don't generally care when it's not them, but if we can like encourage people to think about like their communities and this is happening here and right now, that is so important, and it can encourage them to come out to the strike or maybe do something, take action locally. So
and that's something that in my other interviews that I've done with other people in environmental science, a lot of it is like a local focus. And it's like yesterday I interviewed a girl who was making home insulation out of mushrooms, and she was talking about how you could do this out of your garage, and how going and getting fiberglass is kind of a waste now because this is cheaper and it's sturdier and you could do it yourself. We've also had stories of like environmentally friendly bricks that you could create out of styrofoam and things like that, and some professors were wanting to get it to just be like a local thing. Is that kind of what your focus is? Like just everything local instead of having this like big national, backing behind it?
It's the best place to start, honestly, because you're here, you know the place, you know the people know you. Like that's when you're thinking locally, people tend to care more. If I'm talking like, oh, this like environmental disaster happened halfway across the world, people don't see that. People aren't feeling those effects, and they tend to just be like, that's sad, and then like move on. But if like some like disaster happened in Harrisonburg, it would really open people's eyes up. So trying to focus on the people in your immediate area is the best place to start because that's just where you are. Like,
cool. And what do you think locally is like the biggest problem right now in Harrisonburg, environmentally wise?
That's a big question.
You can take a second.
There's different people are fighting for or advocating for different things. There's, definitely the change from fossil fuels to renewable energy is been a big topic, but also so has like environmental justice for the marginalized areas in Harrisonburg, or like biking, like even trying to get bike lanes in Harrisonburg is something that people are spending their time and arguing for and asking for. So I don't know the biggest problem. In my opinion, it's JMU is one of Harrisonburg's biggest environmental problems, but also like we are one of like the biggest staples in Harrisonburg that make it what this town is. So I'm not sure how to answer that. There's a lot of issues that are like kind of running around in my brain. I don't know.
Okay. Thanks for coming on today. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I'm not sure. Just just if you could do anything to live more sustainably, make any changes in your life, that's always appreciated. Joining EMC, what? If you coming to the climate strike, I don't know. But yeah.
You guys probably have more members than 3 now.
Yes, definitely.
That's
Which progress. Is very exciting to see.
Well,
Yeah.
anyway, that was our final episode of Change Makers. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Elena, for coming on. It
Thanks
was a
for
great
having me.
conversation. And thanks for coming on.